However, her passion for education led her to establish the Council for Global Education and set up experimental schools in the Czech Republic and Iceland. In India, Dr. Gandhi founded TEVI, Satstan, Dignity Education Vision International, introducing innovative approaches to education and assessments that have been successfully implemented in over 5,000 schools across India. Her work has received international recognition, and she has served as a chief academic advisor to the prestigious City Montessori School, the world's largest school founded by her parents. Her tireless efforts and visionary approach continue to drive positive change in the field of education. Welcome, Dr. Gandhi.
Thank you very much indeed. It's my pleasure. I'm so delighted that I can be in Honduras with you and, of course, be joined by so many wonderful educators from across the globe. Thank you very much for inviting me to this forum. Would you like me to begin?
Yes, Dr. Gandhi, the floor is yours.
Okay, grand. Okay, so I think I would like to put on my PPT, which would be, it's not yet enabled. I'm not able to get in.
All right, yeah.
No problem. Give me 1 second. I'm going to enable it right.
Surely, thank you.
There you go.
Thanks, that's grand. Okay, so my topic today is about a disruptive pedagogy, and in particular referring to foundational literacy and numeracy, but what I feel is disruptive nonetheless. Is K-12 and beyond. We need to think in a vastly different way to the learning by children. And I've been doing a lot of research work in relation to what could be considered disruptive pedagogy. I should begin by, of course, sharing examples from all over the world where disruption has taken place in this field and that field and the other, and as a result of which we've seen amazing new discoveries. Why not in education? Why is education stuck in the old molds? And that was my question. I spent all these years from Iceland when I began my first 2 charter schools. I was very fortunate to win the bid to run Iceland's first 2 charter schools in Iceland. Can you imagine? And then I started my own school in Praha in Czech Republic. My family runs a school, so it's like, okay, starting a school is not a great deal, but it's more about what I do with the school. I do a lot of research work. And so I now have been, after coming back to India a handful of years ago, I've been working on basically on literacy, because I felt that majority of the people are not literate, and it's affecting both children and adults. And I wanted to understand why, given that you know your language, you know how to speak it, how come it is that you can't read it? And it's a handful of letters. I mean, if at the most in Hindi language, we have 52 letters. In English is 26. So it's not that difficult. Then why is it that majority of the world is being held hostage to not being able to read? And so that's where my research began, and so came up with something, we can call it disruptive. And I just want to go over the premise of this. So firstly, literacy is deeply connected to the SDGs, and it is the foundation on which rest of learning and education depends. But SDGs also, because population growth, participation, civic society, climate action, all of these are linked to, in fact, literacy. And we've made an entire list of all the SDGs and how literacy links to them. It's pretty amazing what literacy can do. In the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 4.1, that is by 2030, it is intentioned that all girls and boys will complete free, equitable, and quality primary and secondary education, leading to relevant and effective learning outcomes for all without discrimination. So basically, all children by 2030 should have these foundational skills and, of course, get a quality primary and secondary education. But the foundation of which, again, is foundational literacy and numeracy. And the world over, people are really struggling how to make the world literate and numerate. United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 4.6 is to ensure that all youth and substantial proportion of adults, both men and women, achieve literacy and numeracy by 2030. So that's another angle, which is the adults who are illiterate. There's millions, 780 million adults who are illiterate at this point in time. That's an estimate by the World Bank and jointly by the other UN agencies. In fact, the UNICEF head of education, worldwide head of education, Robert Jenkins, he said that according to UNICEF, the problem of literacy is nearly insurmountable. Worldwide learning losses due to school closures have left up to 70% of 10-year-olds, that's grade 5 children, 70% of grade 5, that's 10-year-olds, unable to read or understand a simple text. And that is up from 53% before the pandemic. Now, before the pandemic, also situation not very rosy. If after spending 5 years in school, grade 5 children cannot read, or half of them cannot read, we have a big, huge impasse that we need to overcome. So there's also the alluding to the fact that we probably have a failed education system, and the problem is not going to be solved unless we do something dramatically different. In particular, we can say that slow speeds of learning are the most important barrier to widespread literacy. So the question also is that why does it take so long, given we teach in the mother tongue of the child? And can we really afford another 5 years? The situation is terrible. Now, OECD says that improving literacy rates is a critical step in reducing poverty and promoting economic growth. One extra year of schooling can increase an individual's earning power by 10% on average. And then, this is really an important one, the return on investment for every dollar spent on a girl's education can be as high as $10 in some developing countries. 10 times every dollar will yield that kind of a return, which is absolutely phenomenal. But there are reading wars going on across the world, in particular in the United States of America, and also worldwide, in fact, because people are struggling. And so there's the whole language, which is where we all probably learned the whole language way. I learned the whole language way, and recently more so. Schools are doing whole language. And that is basically, as you see, table, it's real. It's like in the real, context, real life context. You're reading what you're reading and speaking what you're speaking, and therefore you're reading what you're speaking. So it's all kind of like in the context of what you're dealing with. And phonics, on the other hand, is a structured approach. So table would be something like what you see on the screen. And phonics also means that, the rules of the game, like C goes with A, O, and U, and K goes with I and E. And you have to remember that. And there's so many other rules. So if you can say that in a phonics approach, we are going from unknown to unknown. So basically go back up. The unknown is the letter C. Nobody knows C. We don't grow up knowing C. We don't hear C as much. Of course, C as in with eyes, but not C as a letter. And we tend to say in phonics, there's a huge letter to sound association that C says K. Now, C is not known, and K, how does C say K? There's no real relationship. So we have to rote learn both of them. And then we may connect it to a picture like a cat. So it's sort of like unknown to known. And here what in Alpha, which is the new pedagogy that has come out of all this research, Alpha stands for Accelerating Learning for All. And here what we found is that we're going from known to the unknown. Children already know the pictures that you can see, car, apple, tub. It can be different pictures for different cultures, countries. We've got it in many languages now. and the children derive the first sound. So they're not seeing letters C, A, and T. We don't even want them to learn the C, A, and T. Now that seems very much like an antithesis of what the world believes almost, but here's my rationale, that when two totally illiterate people, whether they're adults or children, and they know their own language, they know this is a car. I mean, obviously. So they're talking about cars, apples, tub in their daily life, little ones also. And we're saying, okay, sit together, and one of you asks the question from the other, what is this? And the other child says, this is a car. So you say, okay, what do you hear in car? The very first sound that you hear in car. And the other child, my pair is supposed to say k. Similarly for apple, a, and tub, ta, right? So then the next question is, what word do you get when you add the three sounds together? So ka, a, t becomes cat. And this two children who are totally illiterate, who don't know a single letter, can derive. They just see the C as a sound symbol k. They don't see it as C. And therefore they're adding these sounds very, very conveniently. And if you look at the book, I've of course not put all the material here, but on the same page, they're learning 3 words like this. There are a total of 5 pages from which they're learning 15 words. And with those 15 words, they're learning the entire alphabet backwards from words. And they're making the words on their own without any help from the teacher. The teacher only shows what is the process by which you can learn as a pair or with each other. So which approach? We've got whole language, we've got phonics, we've got, of course, balanced literacy is sort of like a combination of whole language and phonics. And then we've got this new thing that I'm floating around called Alpha, Accelerating Learning for All. And as you see in this picture, these kids are in pairs and they're learning with each other and they're really advancing fast. And why is that possible? How and why is that possible? So basically, we're seeing with Alpha results in 45 days. So if you divide the school year into 3 terms, and we get something like 45 working days outside of tests and so many other things. Alpha would take 45 days, 1 period for literacy, 1 for numeracy. And after that, they finish these very thin booklets. You can see these girls holding very thin booklets. I'll share with you that numeracy is only 28 pages and reading is 32 pages and writing is just 12 pages. And this is grade 3. And in fact, a lot of the kids with another 12 pages, they're doing grade 5. And so thin, how is it at all possible? And so quick. The second term, they go back to their prescribed textbooks and workbooks because we kind of are still getting out of that old mold. But nevertheless, this is what they have. And it's more like practice for them. And they go over this material really fast. The whole year content is covered in under 45 days. And this is, what the results are coming out. Then the third term is for broader goals. How about learn a language? How about do service projects? Hone in further skills and develop your fluency, develop your comprehension, and so many other skills that we just, it's a continuum. We just always continue to learn. So this phase will broaden the outlook on other goals that are so very important. So like every country, we have from Ministry of Education of India, a scheme by which Lakshya is a goal, learning goals, and this is a mission called Nipun Bharat Mission. And so by grade 3, they're supposed to know numbers up to 9999. They are supposed to be able to solve some simple multiplication problems. That's 2 digit by 1 digit, or in fact, 1 digit by 1 digit by they're not really expected to do much in multiplication grade 2. But by grade 3, they should know a little more. It's not qualified here, but we assume it is by 1 digit. And read with meaning. And read with meaning is, of course, a very important goal. And then at least 60 words per minute in terms of fluency of reading. So these are 3 goals. Numeracy above class level is what we are aiming for, not just at the class level. So you see this going on here in paired learning. The kids on the left, and then on the right. Oh, I should turn on my volume. Just a minute. I think it will play. It will play. Okay. So go back up here. This is just, a quick insight into a village-based school. The left one is a children from a slum, and on the right are children from a low-cost budget private school in a village. So as you see, there's a lot of well, firstly, agency given to the children to lead their own learning, which is not happening anywhere as far as we know. There's sometimes, like think, pair, share, or let's get into a group and do project work. But this is the modality of learning. Kids are on their own. Teacher is a galvanizer, not even a facilitator, because a facilitator will facilitate. We're saying, no, give complete agency to the children. Let them learn by themselves. They are capable. We just have to put the information in such a manner that they understand what their task is and how they're supposed to work in a pair. And when they work in a pair, there's so many other gains that are possible. So here you can see kids from, government schools working. This is the FLN booklet kept here. And these are, beans that they got from home. And these are chits with numbers written on them. Can't see very well. But one child puts a whole bunch of them in front of the other counts and then matches with the chit. Here they've got this numbers bank going from ones, tens, hundreds and thousands and 10,000. And these very tiny kids, grade 2, grade 1, they're doing numbers in tens of thousands, and people would not believe it. So it's child-led shared learning, which is sort of a new take on learning. Here's a video. I hope you can hear the videos. Can you hear them? Okay,
excuse me.
About the power of pair.
Yeah, the first.
Yeah, it is working. Children working together in pairs enable rapid rates of learning. In this video, we're going to discuss that why paired learning is effective, why random pairing, and how to make pairs. Let's begin with why paired learning is effective.
Many studies have shown that paired learning is more swift and it's more effective, and it helps in improving children's performance, their academic performance, their social development, as well as their motivation and the engagement in the activity.
A traditional classroom has a teacher-people ratio of 40:1, which really makes it difficult for the teacher to pay attention on each and every child. But when we talk about random pairing, this ratio becomes 1:1. The child is engaged and doing the activities.
The Times of India Joe Smith tracks are up to half kilometer long, 2 feet wide. A ground survey of the cracks revealing the vulnerability of the area, reports Shivani Azad. Speaking at the UP Global Investors Summit in Graceville on Friday, Tata Sons chairman.
So it is nothing, not everything is perfect, but you see, this is the process by which they go
Okay, so now
forward.
we know that pair learning is effective, but now the question is how to make pairs.
Okay, so there are different ways of making pairs. We can even use paper chits, right? Or ice cream sticks on which you can write down the roll numbers of the children, and you can call out one child who will pick the ice cream sticks, and he or she is going to call out the roll numbers written on it, and then those two children will come together and sitting in a pair. Let's start the class with the random pairing. Namya, please come out and call out your friends' roll numbers.
Roll number 44 and roll number 5.
Yes, roll number 44 and 5, please come. Gati, please come out and call out the next two roll numbers.
Okay, so I'm going to...
How may I help you, sir? I want the juice and this puppet, but the cost of the juice is 20 rupees and the cost of this puppet is 50 rupees. Don't worry, I have the change amount. Okay, then. Oh, 100. Let me calculate, sir. The left amount is 30. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So they're learning a lot of manners as well. This is about the power of
Paired
pairs.
learning.
So, and then there's this video. I think this compare and contrast between traditional and alpha classroom. So I'm not going to go into too much detail with that, but I can share the links later on. But we came out with Alpha last year, that is in 2022, and immediately we got the Ministry of Education of India take deep interest and give us some districts right away. So we got what they're calling the low performance districts of India, LPDs. And so we got Sambalpur in Odisha, which is a state in the east of India, and we got in Uttar Pradesh, several places. So we're in many districts now, as you can see, in India. And these, you can see all over the place is paired learning. And it's the same kind of feeling, same kind of results. Is really, really awesome to see kids flourishing so well. We've also got it in Peru, in Iquitos, which is basically near the Amazon forest in Peru. So these are pretty low economic background children. And they're doing also really well. We got amazing feedback from there. This is Guyana, also indulging it. There they have the electronic version. They're using the same approach, but on an app. And then we have in United States of America, we've got Literacy Chicago that's adopted it for adult literacy. In Maldives also, we are training teachers. Right now, there's a big program going on in the Maldives. It's a pilot supported by UNICEF. And this all happened very, very quickly over the last few months. And in Malaysia, I just came back from Malaysia. We trained people from 8 different countries in Malaysia, including China. And the program is available in 30 international and national languages of India. So it includes Swahili, it includes so many other languages. So it's grown really fast, to our own surprise, because we are academics, we're developing things, we're researching things, but the interest that has come up is huge. So the question on my mind has been, are current reforms sufficient to address the problem of widespread illiteracy? So basically, the kind of actions that the governments are taking, like in India and many countries, is that they are actually giving, not just the textbooks, they're also giving workbooks, storybooks, posters, print-rich environments. And, there's a lot of focus on more material in the classroom, which is fine, it's an input. But, it doesn't hurt, but it doesn't necessarily all help, because if they don't know how to read, they can't use that material. There are detailed planners, so ever so much like, okay, you're going to do this on this day, in this particular period, you're going to do this, in that period, you're going to do that, then you're going to do remedial this way, and so on. And that also is really, really circumspect from my point of view, because it's like, you want teachers to be master chefs. You don't want them to be told, you do this, put this ingredient in, and then you do this, and then you do that. And if the end result is not good, who's to blame? The policymaker who made all the detailed recipe, or the teacher? So they're tightening the bolts, there's more testing, there's more remediation, there's more extensive training, there's stricter supervision, there's the greater NGO involvement. The teachers are surrounded and they're being asked to do more and more, and they just don't know how to do it. We've just had, since COVID, 2.5 years, and literally we have about, in our city, we've got maybe 70%, 80% of children of grade 5 who cannot read. And this is really, really the reality. So in our FLN research design, Foundation Literacy and Numeracy research design, we are selecting everywhere we are doing our programs, even in Chicago, we're random selection of schools, or in that case, adults, and half in treatment, half in control. Treatment would be the group that we implement Alpha in, and control is just for testing. And there's a pre-test given to all of them. There's training of the facilitators and teachers. There's the implementation of the Alpha program. There's observation of it. There's post-test after 40-45 days. And there's impact evaluation reports. And then that hopefully leads to scaling up. And we've seen enormous scaling up. Like we went from 20 schools to 3,000 schools in about 5 months. So the evidence is also pretty compelling, and we are very fortunate that Harvard Graduate School of Education, AGSC in US, they did a study of our program in Uttar Pradesh, in Shamli, the first district we got last August, and results came out within 40 days. There was a post-test. And so the result we got just after 40 days was 0.23 for grade 3. That is the effect size, and effect size 0.89 for grade 5. So this is what Harvard has written, that the results suggest there is a significant value in pursuing the Alpha model in other schools if implemented in a coherent, structured, and coordinated manner. We found a lot of difficulties being able to get the government teachers to commit to it, because there's so many other compelling other objectives, and we want the government to give us a carte blanche. Okay, 30 days, nothing else happens. And this wasn't the case. Well, not ideal, but in 40 days, we accomplished quite a bit. This kind of effect size you don't see over a year in most schools across the world. So that was pretty phenomenal, especially 0.89 for grade 5. They also did ORF comparison. And in that, they've written the students in the intervention group, that is the treatment group, had much higher oral reading fluency than those in the reference group. And then the data is given to support that, and the chart is presented as well. There are qualitative outcomes, like there's improved student attendance, which has been a huge problem in our schools here and possibly in other parts of the world. There's much greater intrinsic motivation. In fact, it's acted like a catalyst and is grown on its own in the places where we went, because we couldn't be there everywhere. We were very small, we're academic group. There's great amount of parent satisfaction. There's the development of what we might call the 4C skills of the 21st century: collaboration, communication, creativity, and critical thinking. Children make questions for each other, for example. They make the props and the learning aids for themselves. Outcome of this, what we might call traits, there are 4 traits that we want to see in our children. One is character, and that happens in the laboratory of where you're working with each other, and there are real issues, real difficulties that come up, and it's time to learn about character every single day. And then climate consciousness, we feel that should be part of every school's agenda at this point in time. And so we are, firstly, our books are very thin, so the climate footprint is very low. But more than that, we also have changed stories. We've got a lot of activities the children do, and they choose the materials that they work with as climate conscious as possible. There's also connectedness, which is really incredibly important as an outcome. It's not just that I can work with others, but that I feel connected with them. And that would mean my social, emotional, mental well-being is addressed. And there's citizenship as well, which is, of course, the ultimate outcome of any education. So you can see the question in our minds is it the pedagogy of the future, or is it a pedagogy of the future? Time will tell, but these are pictures that just come hot from the press. They've come from Maldives. So they're doing this paired learning with the little children, as you can see, and given complete agency for them to work out things on their own, with the booklet serving as a trigger to their imagination. So the policy recommendations coming out of our work is monitoring of outcome, learning outcomes versus input. So put emphasis on outcomes. So you treat the teacher as a master chef, saying, okay, here's, your pantry full of all the, ingredients, go take whatever you wish, whatever works for you, but we want this particular outcome. And then we trust them, they'll give us the outcome. So we have to trust our teachers more rather than control them more. There should be outcome-based accountability, allow teachers to do the different, not just follow a particular rhythm that the government gives. External tests, random visits would be very good rather than doing lots and lots of testing, and which is happening right now as well. Also, there should be a lot more sharing and therefore intrinsic peer accountability. Also, we recommend that the NGOs work like we are an NGO officially, and we're not the government. So basically, scaling up work that looks good, but collecting that evidence and insisting upon evidence. Then at the macro level, the policies that will really help solve the problems that we are facing are public-private partnerships, PPP, which can be extended on the basis of the outcomes. And of course, conditional cash transfers. We learned that from Latin America and from other parts of, from South America, that these have worked. Why not in education? The Netherlands has had a successful model for decades in which the poor kids get to attend the best schools and the government pays for the transport. And so they have that ability to cash. In fact, they get a higher amount if they're from an underprivileged background. And so the private schools, good private schools welcome them, and even the government schools. So I've written this book called Disruptive Literacy that has a lot of my research in it. It's available on Amazon, a roadmap for urgent global action. And this was launched last year and published by Bloomsbury, India. So is it a paradigm shift in FLN? Again, we have to wait and see, but it seems so because kids are learning in 45 days what they could not learn in 3 years or 5 years. And they're having fun, teachers finding their peace, feeling their well-being. They can sit in the corner. We don't want them in the middle. And they can actually do all the correction work and any kind of planning there. They make the tests. They get up once in a while just to see everyone's okay, take a picture and a video and post them on a WhatsApp group. So it's really awesome what's going on here. And in Peru and so many other countries now. In Kenya, we just started about 2 weeks ago. We're starting in California at a school this September, and so forth. So we've had, of course, a lot of great testimonials from the leadership of India, and that's been very, very encouraging. We also have some government partnerships that are happening at the moment. They're more in the pipeline. We also have international partnerships with Teachers Without Borders, with All Africa Students Union, with We Love Reading, and so forth. And we've got an advisory committee, which is international from 22 countries, that are helping us, look at things in a better way. And it's been receiving a lot of media coverage as well, on and off. And then, of course, this is the NGO that I started, called Devi Sansthan. Devi stands for Dignity Education Vision International. And the goal is to leave no one behind, child or adult. And this is the information at the bottom, the website and the numbers, if you wish to jot them down. Now, that's my official presentation. Any questions are most warmly welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gandhi. Very interesting project. And let's see some of the comments from our attendees. Dr. Gandhi, what is the approach, how governments approach the program? How would they come? What is the access, the first access that they do in order to implement them? What would be like the first step is this being working more like in governmental institutions rather than private institutions?
Yes. Right now, we're working in 630 government schools. We've been given a memorandum of understanding to work in 3,000 schools in one of the states. In the other state, we've done at a district level. And now we are looking at maybe the state level. So it's all in process. But yes, a majority of the work is in the government schools. Right now, 630 schools in this state where I'm sitting, which is called Uttar Pradesh, India's largest population-wise.
What about in Latin America? You mentioned that in South America, in Peru, they are implementing it. And how has it been accepted through governmental institutions? I mean, are the institutions developing the program?
Well, not really. Well, these are like people through NGOs. The Arquebita NGO in Peru approached us, so that's why we began with them. In Guyana, it's a lady based out of New York who is from Guyana. She works for one of the consulting firms, and she took it back to her country. She's on our advisory committee. So, different avenues. Kenya, they heard about us somehow, and they joined us as well. So governments are typically very slow to move. Even Maldives, that wanted to do it, when we launched it last year, they wanted to do it. It still took them 10 months to start the pilot. And UNICEF is supporting it. Of course, I mean, we want it going really much faster, but governments move a lot slower. Zimbabwe, we've been dealing with for now several months. And even for the next, we do a massive open online training. It's coming up on Monday. And many of the Zimbabwe teachers and government officials have joined or registered for it, but the MOU is not yet signed. So we're offering it all for free as well, by the way. It's a gift to mankind. And also, we're into research and we're into collecting data.
Very interesting. Thank you very much. Any questions from the participants?
We're also about to begin it with Suzanne Rajkumar. I just see her here. Awesome to have you here, Suzanne. We're going to be beginning in Honduras as well with an NGO there that Suzanne is connected to. Just about to begin.
Very interesting. That's really good news for our children, definitely. So they will be participating in the program.
Yes, and what would be really lovely if your university can be the researchers. Some students, a professor takes an interest in their project, so we can have a third-party view of it from the beginning. And that would be really, really helpful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, we will let that know to our authorities so that our students and researchers start working in the project, definitely. Thank you for the invitation. So I don't know if there are any comments or any other questions. Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. Yes.
Hi, hello, Mr. Miguel. I just wanted to say it's really a great pleasure to have Dr. Gandhi here presenting in Honduras. to hear her talk about her program and to see what her program is doing around the world. And it's really, really amazing to be able to have this like on the step of bringing it to Honduras as well. So thank you, Dr. Gandhi. Just really amazing work. And we look forward to helping continue that work here too.
Right. Suzanne was helping us in translating for the Peru school teachers because they don't speak English. So Suzanne volunteered and helped us out. And now she wants to do it for herself as well. Go ahead, you.
Thank you very much. That's what I was thinking, that since this is literacy, it'll be first language, right? It will work teaching first language to children. So I think that definitely that is why it is necessary to have a translator for the original program.
We've also talked with Dr. Gandhi about I work in biliteracy. And that's what we're also looking at because the methods are very similar in how they work. So the Peruvian teachers will also be like mentors for the Honduran group, the pilot that we will be starting, so that they get to compare and contrast how to contextualize it for the Honduran environment in terms of what sort of elements they've had, how it's different from India to Honduras to the different countries. And the biliterate element is that it can also be done, but that's where with Dr. Gandhi, we're also exploring how to take it to that other level and demonstrate to be able to do it simultaneously in both languages. So just pretty exciting.
Many countries, we're learning like our children learning English and Hindi at the same time, English not being the mother tongue. So, but they're learning it very fast. So that also is kind of interesting to observe. We have these children from government schools, which are obviously they're going there to government schools because they are the poorest and they can't afford a private education. So these kids are flawlessly reading in English right now. They don't always understand everything, but they can read. So that's really awesome. But then over time, when they read more stories and all that, put things in context, their vocabulary develops, they look up the dictionary, they kind of interact with it a lot more. They're also understanding very, very quickly, actually, much faster than traditional ways of teaching.
Congratulations on the great result of the project, Dr. Gandhi. It's really interesting in how it has developed into so many languages and is spreading throughout the world. So I think your question that if it's going to be the or a pedagogical way of teaching, I think it's going into the. It's my personal opinion. That is through the results that you are getting, and with all the languages, all the countries, and children who are acquiring their first language, then this is evidence that it's going in direction to the new pedagogical teaching for literacy. Thank you very much for your presentation. Really, really interesting. And congratulations on your project. And thank you, Suzanne, for the work. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming to this session.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, everybody. I hope you can join us to. Thank you, Doctor. I hope you can join us with the other conferences the rest of the afternoon and evening, and tomorrow, Friday and Saturday. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye, Doctor.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you. Thank you, Miguel.